And guys, welcome, Peter. Hello, Peter.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here. Hey,
Yes.
how are you?
Fine. How are
Very
you?
good.
Okay,
Very good,
awesome.
very good. So I'm here in sunny Helsinki. So it's yeah, normal summer day, 33 degrees or something like that. So it's like pretty warm today.
That's nice. I'm
It's
currently
not
in
too bad.
Ghana, and yeah, I'm currently in Ghana, and it's warm as well. It's actually cool. So yeah, very great. So I think I'll give the floor right to you, and please over to you, sir.
Hey, yeah, thank you. And as I said, it's really great to be here. And I think one thing that I immediately wanted to kind of like connect with there is you're talking about doing things together, and I think that is super important. And that's actually what we've been doing now with Ambitious Africa. So we started that a bit over a year ago, and the intent is really to bring the young people of Africa, so all 54 nations, Ghana and all the others as well, together with the Nordic nations, so Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and so on. So really bring the young people together and really then work together to solve like the really big problems. So of course, looking at all the SDGs and all of that. Then one thing that I'm a big believer in education, and I think that is really the only kind of like sustainable way to change the world. So we really need to focus on education and make sure that we provide fantastic education, not just for a few people, but to all people. And that is one thing that Finland and Nordic countries kind of key thing to the success and why we managed to create very, let's say, functioning societies and also very happy societies. So I think happiness we should also always keep in mind. And basically, according to the UN, Finland has been the happiest nation now 4 years running. And our Nordic friends are not far behind, so they're typically occupying the number 2, 3, and so on. So I think that Nordic countries clearly are doing pretty well if you look at happiness as one like metric. And I think that there is a strong correlation between providing everybody with fantastic education and the happiness, because basically then if we give everybody the best possible start in life, then the rest doesn't like automatically take care of itself, but it helps. So education is really important, and that of course is then connected to kind of like talent and everything. Also, what is really important that if you have fantastic education, it's a little bit like with creating the best possible game. If you create the best game ever, who cares if nobody knows about it? And I think that it's a little bit like then with the fantastic education, that you also need to do something with that education. And I think that is where this kind of like second E, if education is the first E letter, then I think that the second one is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs are people who do things. And I think that is, again, it doesn't matter if you're in games or in another like creative industry or if you're in any business or anything you do in life, it's about entrepreneurship. It's about doing things and taking initiative. So if you want to change the world, it's probably not going to change by itself. You actually need to do something about that. And that's what entrepreneurs do. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. Then I always talk about this third E, entertainment. And I think that is important on so many levels. So we're always competing for the attention, for the time of people. There are so many things that you can do. You could, play one of those great games that you mentioned, or you could boot up, like Netflix and watch the latest, hit movie, hit series. So there are so many things that you can do with your time. And we can learn from like how the best games companies are doing that, or entertainment industry in general. Very good at getting the attention, keeping the attention. So I always say that if you want to create fantastic learning experiences and really make sure that people learn the skills that they need later in life, we need to bring together the best pedagogues and the best game designers. And we can really create, again, fantastic learning experience by working together. So I think this is something that is very important. And then when you look at bringing these kind of like transformative triple E together, so you have education, entrepreneurship, and entertainment, then I think that we can really like do pretty much anything. And I think that this theme of togetherness is really important, because you can always learn from each other. So we figured out a few things here in Finland, Nordic countries, but we didn't invent and create all of these things. We actually always very open to ideas from other parts of the world, and I think that is actually one of the secrets of the success here, that we have been very open to adapt ideas from other places, and not believing that we know better and we always know best. Actually, it's probably many times the opposite, and we can always learn. And I think that is, again, we can learn from what is going on all over Africa, and hopefully we can also then help and share some of the things that we've learned here. So it's all about learning together, and also about really learning by doing. So I think that the best way to learn in many cases, it really is all about doing things. I think the bigger the organization and the bigger nation, we're always very good at overthinking things and analyzing things. And while we are busy analyzing and thinking about doing something, then the world has already moved on, and it's like too late for the perfect plan that you created. So I always say that don't think, do think. And what I mean by that is that we should really go out there, do, and when we do things, of course, many times when we do new things, we fail, because that's kind of like how the world works. But we always learn, and then we try again, fail, try again, and then we eventually will be successful. I mean, just like looking at Rovio and Angry Birds, Rovio created 51 games before the 52nd game, which was Angry Birds. So it's not like you just get a few guys together and then you create a game and it's a hit, and before you know it, it becomes the fastest growing consumer brand ever. It took a few trials before it got to the big one. So I think that, again, great example of how you learn by doing things, learn by making new games, and then you make better and better and better games all the time. And I think this is not just in the games industry, it's in anything that we do. Then another thing that I think, again, working together, but I think also it is about bringing people together, sometimes, like-minded people, but also like people from different backgrounds, different nations, different, skill sets. So I think that it's very important to focus on the diversity. Of course, you there in Ghana know a lot more about the market, the opportunities, the challenges in Ghana than I ever could. I actually never even been there, so what do I know? And I think that this is, again, working together and seeing like what we could do. But I think if you look at then where a lot of the success stories, be it in technology or games or any kind of like industry, there are a few hotspots here and there around the planet. So I would say that success and innovation happens everywhere nowadays, and I think this is something that technology, and especially like the connectivity, the internet, mobile technologies, have brought all of us much closer together, and we have access to information like never before. But still, we have a need to get together, physically, and of course now in these kind of like pandemic times, I think that we're really understanding the value of that. That yes, we can do pretty much anything online, but I think that many of the breakthroughs and like really truly great ideas really still require that we get together in person, physically, and then we come up with kind of like the best ideas. So we can really see that there are these concentrations of talent. So of course, Silicon Valley comes to mind, or you can look at like Hollywood, or you can look at what is going on in music in like the UK, in Sweden. So there are like certain ecosystems that have like a very kind of firm geographic like location as well. So that is still very important. So geography and physical locations, even with the pandemic, I think that haven't lost kind of like their significance. So one thing that I'm really focused on right now is then looking at how we can bring talent together and looking at these hotspots. So here in Finland, we've been very successful in games. I think we now have about 3,000 people working in our games industry, and they're adding 1,000 in the next 12 months. So it's starts to be like significant if you look at then, Finland only 5.5 million people. So it starts to be like even national level a significant industry. And I think that we accounted for something like 6% of the global mobile games business. So that's pretty good for like a tiny little nation like Finland. So there is higher density of talent when it comes to games. So more game developers, more game studios than like anywhere else, higher than say Tokyo or London or West Coast of the US. And I think that then when you start looking at this talent density, when you have very, very high talent density in a particular industry, then that almost guarantees that there will be a continuous stream of success stories and continuous stream of hit games in this case. So, Angry Birds, then you have Supercell with Clash of Clans and so on. You have Small Giant Games and Seriously, and, like there's more and more. So you also get these role models, and they guys can do that, then we'll do something even bigger. And I think that this is what we also need to do across Africa. We need more great role models like the companies that we heard about, in the previous presentation. So once we have, a bit of success, then let's amplify that and let's use that as a role model for the rest of the people. So then, if those guys in Ghana can do that, then we can do that here in Nigeria or in Rwanda or Zimbabwe or, wherever it might be. So I think that this is something that is, again, super important that we celebrate and highlight and amplify the success. And also then when we do that, that will attract kind of like more talent to that industry, to that physical area, that location. And I think this is something that we really need to kind of like keep in mind. And that's something that I'm kind of like excited about, bringing together people again to create, the next big thing. So I think that is something that we all need to think about, like the talent attraction. How do we then attract the talent to our part of the world? So I think this is something that is very important. But anyway, I really didn't have more to share today, but I think that what I would still kind of like highlight that it's very important that we put the young people in charge and we enable the young people to make things happen. So I think that's something that is super, super important. So it's a job of us, like slightly older people, to make sure that we keep the governments and old people out of the way while the young people change the world. So that is something that is super, super important. And that is also what we're doing with Ambitious Africa. So if you haven't checked out Ambitious Africa yet, then you should do that. So I think that we could always use a helping hand, from young people and talented people. So if you go and want to know more about Ambitious Africa, go to ambitious.africa, and very easy to kind of like then connect, and then we can figure out what we could do together. That's all I had today, and it was great to be here. And thank you for pulling together this fantastic event. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming. Before you go, please, I would just like to highlight some of the really important things you've said, which are really awesome. And I'm looking at entrepreneurship, because we know in Africa, as a creative myself, especially in the games industry, one thing that has really pushed people off is that to become profitable is so difficult. And then when we compare ourselves or compare our dreams, everyone wants to be like Rovio Studios, Ubisoft, Activision, EA. And then you mentioned something very key, which is Rovio Studios actually made 51 games before Angry Birds. And you made a statement out. I didn't get that. I really want to write it down. You said, don't do, think, or something, please.
I said, I basically said that don't think, do, think. And what I mean by that don't like overly analyze. So don't think too much about things. Just go out there and do. And then you think again, analyze what you actually achieve by doing. So I think that's another way of saying learning by doing. But I think that it's very important, because yeah, we're all very good at, overthinking, overanalyzing things, and it's a little bit like if I take the example of driving a car. I mean, yes, probably you can learn how to drive a car by reading a lot of books and thinking about it, but it's much faster to actually like just go out there and drive the car. You learn much faster, and I think that it's the same thing if you look at entrepreneurship. If you look at like creating games. Yes, of course, it's good to know the theory and all of that, but probably you learn the best if you make games. And then, okay, it wasn't successful, then you make the next one. And then it's also, if you look at the example of Rovio and Angry Birds, I mean, the whole company started as a student project. So I organized a game making competition all the way back in 2003. Then 3 young guys, Niklas, Kim, and Jarno from Aalto University took part and won the competition. And then they asked me that, hey, Peter, what do we do now? We won this game making competition and we are students here at Aalto. What should we do? And then I said, you should do what you love to do. So they started a company to do what they love to do, which was making games. And I think that this is also very important that, it's really, if you hate your job and all of that, do something else, so you should always focus on kind of like doing what you love to do. And you can always tell from companies that if they employ people who actually like what they do, or even better, love their jobs and love what they do, because you can see that in the products, in the games, in the movies, in the cars, or whatever the company happens to be making.
Wow, thanks so much for that. I feel like that was needed to be said, because a lot of people think success just happens. Rarely do people celebrate the struggle along the way. It's always the success. So thanks so much for that. And yes, there are lots of, you also spoke of talent density, and that's something we're really interested about. There are lots of programs coming up right now to support African creatives across. We have the Epic Game program run by Netinfo. We have an incubation with Crazy Labs and Carry First. And even we, Africa Comic Aid, also have the fellowship, which we're trying to structure very well. And one thing we look forward to doing is, in the nearest future, we're trying to lay down this structure so we can see how we can connect the the Finnish game industry with the African game industry in terms of training, talent, and the likes. We really look forward to that.
Yeah, we want to do that. And actually, hey, that when you mentioned incubators, I mean, we are running actually a summer incubator in Pärnu, Estonia, so part of the finest Bay Area. So it's Parnu, PARNU.games. And there's a summer incubator. We could replicate that, in Africa. And another thing, of course, we are always welcoming African teams to participate in our incubation programs. So I think that it's very good to do this kind of cross-fertilization, Nordic teams, African teams working together, sharing experiences. And I think that's one thing that makes the games industry here in Finland particularly great, is that everybody is working together. And if I need to know about how to do the best possible, user acquisition, I'll go to talk to the guys at Supercell, or then, maybe another thing, I'll go to Small Giant Games, and so on and so on. So it's a very, very collaborative community. So again, coming back to what you said, working together, that's super important.
Okay. Awesome then, awesome. I think I'll follow up with you to get more details about that, and then I'll push it out into our community and share other communities. So thanks so much for your time, Peter.
Fantastic.
It was really wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
It's wonderful to be here and have a great event. Hey, thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.